Okie dokie, Sharon. I can't wait for this.
Chris, you and I have known each other. I was trying to calculate at least 10 years, but maybe closer to between 10 and 15. We've known each other a long time.
A long
And
time.
you, as Agent Unleashed, I love your shirt, um, are in real estate. And I, in the past, was in network marketing, but I'm developing my own program. And I realized that you and we keep having these really deep conversations about what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And when we first started these conversations, you had just received like $40,000 commission and it was all gone in 5 minutes. And it was like, what happened? So we started expanding your joy for all the money that you do make. And
Hmm.
I'm sitting here watching you because you make way more money than I have in the past, but that's going to change. So what I wanted to ask you, like, I know I have a little 30-second message that I tell people. My 30
Hmm.
second message is um, that women entrepreneurs over 50 hire me to break through multiple six figures because their business is stuck and they're sick
Hmm.
and tired of working too hard for mediocre results. So I help them to clear the blocks, and
Hmm.
then we create a strategic plan focusing on impact and profit. Bottom line, they generate $250,000 in 2 years or less, and that's guaranteed. It's a results-based program. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and what you do is completely different. So in 30 seconds, can you tell us what you do? And I didn't tell you in advance I was going to ask you this. So can you tell me
Well,
really quickly, like that message, that what people can look for from you?
absolutely. So I'm a 30 plus year listing agent, currently still in the trenches in San Francisco. And in addition to that, I am the founder of the Listing Collective. And it's basically a coaching program where I specifically help listing agents achieve their highest possible potential.
Period. I love it. I love it. So, anybody watching this, if you're the slightest bit interested in real estate, listen to Chris. If you're the slightest bit interested in entrepreneurship, listen to me. And frankly, we're just going to play. What happens underneath the surface of what we do is we look at how our brain is wired.
Right, right,
So
exactly.
I usually you invite me onto your show. So
Hmm.
I wanted to do a little interview of you here and have a little back and forth. But tell me more about how you evolved. You said you're a 30-year listing agent. Most people in today's world have changed careers 14 times in 30 years.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
know my father worked for the same company until he retired and got his pension. And it took me like 5 years in the financial industry to achieve the income he had after 40 years of working or whatever. And I've just gone from thing to thing. But you have steadily stayed with a career that was satisfying and lucrative. So tell me more about how you got started and how you evolved to have the Agent Unleashed and the collective that you have and what's going
Hmm.
on.
But so I have to say, so I've done a little bit of changing, as you probably know, in the past. But I started out right out of college as a CPA working for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I worked all over the country. I was started in Detroit, San Diego. I spent 2 years in New York, back to San Diego, then up to San Francisco. But I was really good at it, and I made a lot of money at it, and I absolutely hated my life. I mean, I would go home every night like crying on the inside because I just hated the work. I really didn't like it at all. And then when I moved to San Francisco and I bought my first house in San Francisco, my real estate agents, we became friends, and he said, you should do real estate. And I was always passionate about real estate. I'd go to open houses and stuff and did a lot of investing. Um, and so I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to do that." So I was literally on the edge of becoming a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I gave it all up and switched to real estate. And my only regret is I didn't do it sooner. I was a CPA for 11 years, and then I went to real estate. But the common thread, Sharon, that was throughout my whole life really is, and you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. I have always been a person of service. And whether it was a CPA, whether I was helping my family, whether I was helping my sellers in San Francisco, the greatest joy that I get in life is being in service to other people, helping them achieve their dreams, their full potential. For me, it was just a natural thing that after about 20 years selling real estate, that I wrote a book called Massive Abundance: How to Create Passion, Purpose, and Prosperity in Your Life. And then, sort of, the natural progression from that was wanting to coach real estate agents because I wanted to help other real estate agents. And so it's taken, you have been so instrumental in my growth, emotionally, spiritually, financially, that it was just I've made so many changes inside me and out around me that you're the one reason that I am in Panama right now. I base myself in Panama, but I still have my business in San Francisco, and I go back there a lot and I work with my team. But I'll never forget it because I know exactly where I was sitting in my living room in San Francisco. I know exactly the question that I said, I've got to wait until I had net X number of dollars before I could move to Panama because it was always my partner, my dream. And you said, "Why are you waiting?" You said, "You're never going to have enough. You're never going to have enough time. You're never going to have enough money. You're never going to have da da da." And you just go. And and it just there was like a light bulb in me that went off, and it was like it was just like, I can do this. And literally within, I think, 6 to 9 months of you and I having that conversation, we came to Panama and bought a condo.
And,
So
and I remember when when you did make that decision, which I was so delighted because I knew you had this dream and you kept saying, well, I have to have X number of dollars in the
yeah,
bank. And she
right.
already had way more dollars in the bank than most people have when they retire.
Hmm.
And you had enough money right then and there to fully retire if you wanted, but no, 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 no. And I was like, okay, so keep on doing your thing, but make your move. And I said, by the way, you know that when you make this move, in and of itself, that's not what's going to make you happy.
Exactly. You said to me, you said, just go, changing locations does not change your problems. I would never forget you saying that to me. And you're absolutely right. I did it because I wanted to, at our age, I wanted to experience a different culture and I wanted to be closer to my partner's family who's from Brazil. And so there's a lot of different reasons why, but I remember you saying something like, you don't want to get old and could have, would have, should have kind of thing. And it was just a real eye-opening conversation that you and I had. And I was just like, oh my God, I need to do this immediately.
Well, and you know what? Your life has been your life so expanded after you allowed yourself the
Yes.
freedom because what you recognized was like, yeah, you made a lot of money with Price Waterhouse. And I think the reason you were capable of still making a lot of money, even though you hated it, was because you were in service. You cared about
Hmm.
people. So you did
Yes.
a good job, and so you got paid for it. But internally, that wasn't the service that you really needed to be doing. And again,
Hmm.
with the real estate, it's like you were doing it and you got a system and it was working and you were making good money. I don't know if it was more than Price Waterhouse or not, but
Oh,
you're
yeah.
still a whole lot more, right? And so
Hmm.
you're doing that. And then you was like, and I know that you like newness, and I know that you have a
Yes.
tendency in life to sort of get bored. So it was like, okay, just be prepared once you get to Panama, and once you find your perfect home, and once you've decorated your perfect home, and once you're in your perfect home, looking at it, your beautiful view, just
Hmm.
notice now.
Hmm.
You're
Yes.
still you. And
Exactly.
because you paid attention to that, you created a life of joy. It wasn't just
Hmm.
about the money anymore. It was like,
Hmm.
okay, how can I be in more service and still love my life? How can I travel more? How can I do
Hmm.
the things that I want to do? And so I love that you're living your dream. I think next month you're going to Guatemala for a month
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
because, and you're
Hmm.
experiencing the different cultures and you're experiencing these different things. It's so cool to me to see somebody who actually listens to some stuff that I throw out and takes action on it in such a
Right,
way
right.
that I just have ginormous respect for you.
Well,
And
I appreciate you saying that, but the one thing that I think I'd love to hear you talk about is something that I think is so critically important that I've been trying to get across to my coaching clients, and it's something that you help me with and myself, and that's the whole subject of being in alignment. And I'd love for you to talk about that because I think it's one of the most important things in life for us to achieve anything.
it's true. And I've been trying to practice figuring out ways to present this to people because a lot of people have read books like Think and Grow Rich and The Science of
Hmm.
Getting Rich. If you haven't read those books, you definitely want to read those books.
Hmm.
And there's a guy named Joseph Murphy who talks about this stuff, and Neville Goddard
Got
who
her.
talks about this stuff. It's all the quote law of attraction, which The Secret popularized, but immediately became a bad thing because people would sit on the couch and eat bonbons and say, "Why isn't my dreams happening?" You know. But what I've recognized that makes us absolutely unstoppable, and this is
Hmm.
true for me as well. And I'll be 80 in January, so
There
I
he is.
get I get to see how to do what I tell other people to do in
Hmm.
myself, because frankly I'm committed to building $1 million business right now, and and do it fast because I'm
Hmm.
getting older.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
So, and I know you already have $1 million business, but it's whether it's million or, 7 figure or 8 figure or 10 figure business, there's one thing that is in common, before you can scale to that. And that is not just having the clarity of your vision, not just
Hmm.
believing in that vision, but there's an underpinning that allows you to go through all the obstacles. And that's the underpinning that most people don't talk about. What we
Hmm.
need is to be living from a place of love and gratitude. Now, how simple
Hmm.
is that? The reality is that when we're in love with life, when we're in love with ourselves, when we're in love with our clients, when we're in love with our business, then when an obstacle comes, it's, how can I use that? How can I learn from what? How do I maneuver that as opposed to collapsing under the weight of it?
Right.
And in order to and in order to really fuel that engine of love, we need gratitude. The fuel for
Hmm.
that is gratitude. So what I find, and I, am rarely totally lined up the way I want to be,
Hmm.
but when I am, it's magical. It's like
Hmm.
I notice the phone call that comes in and interrupts me, that's the perfect phone call, or the
Hmm.
phone call that interrupts me, and it's like I get to set a boundary and not answer it.
Hmm.
It's like everything becomes a magic gift. I notice, the sky changing colors, or anything that happens around me becomes fuel for more gratitude and more love. So when I'm in that state of love and gratitude, you know, it's gotten in my way sometimes because I'm so happy. Oh yeah, I have to go make money.
Right, right.
But
But
when
I
I
think,
can, but operating from that, and
mhm,
then getting crystal clear on the vision that you're going for, knowing it's going to evolve and change, getting out of the gate. Okay, I'm moving to Panama. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I'm going to do it. From
mhm,
that place, and then you believe in yourself and you believe in your vision and you know it's doable and you know you're not alone. For me,
mhm,
there's a higher power, there's a source. And when
mhm,
you come into alignment with your vision, your belief, your faith, and your love and your gratitude, nothing can stop you. Nothing.
mhm, mhm. I love that. I love that. And that goes to I think one of the biggest frustrations that I have in working with all my clients, my coaching clients, my sellers and stuff. What do you think? I mean, this has a lot to do with somebody that doesn't achieve their goals, that doesn't really um, when they're not making things happen, when they tell me, yes, I am going to spend 2 hours a day prospecting for new business, and they don't do it. Do you think that this is, I mean, you and I talk about this like crazy. Do you think that this is something, I mean, that they're not in alignment with themselves? That I have heard every excuse in the book as to why somebody is not doing something when they told me they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then they don't. And I'm like, I want to reach through the phone and kick them in the butt, but it really goes to this alignment thing, don't you think?
It absolutely does, because what happens is if we can take out the judgment machine, because they're sitting there saying, just like you want to kick them in the butt, they want to kick themselves in the butt. And
Yeah.
they're going, what is wrong with me? I know that I know how to do this. I haven't done it. Why am I not doing what's stopping me? And because we're so busy in the judgment machine, we're just making
Mm,
ourselves wrong for everything. And so we can't get underneath it to change anything. Whereas if we go back into that place of love and gratitude and loving ourselves, no matter what's going on, to say, isn't this interesting? And we bring our self awareness to it. What is the thought that I'm having behind this? And
hmm
what am I telling myself? Because what they're telling themselves is either I'm going to make 100 phone calls and nobody's going to be there, and this is a waste of my energy, and I feel shitty when nobody answers, and blah, blah, blah. They're going
Yeah.
down that tube. Or they're going down the tube of, I don't have anybody to call. I don't have any prospects. I know I'm
hmm
supposed to be prospecting, but I don't have anybody to talk to. Or they're going down the tube of, well, they should just come to me. I don't, I can help them if they would just come to me. But they've got a thought that is blocking them from taking the physical action.
Interesting. Interesting.
So what I notice with you over the years is if you're feeling a little stuck and you call me up and we get at the spiritual principle behind it,
hmm
you just go right back into action and you get your stuff done. And
hmm
it's somehow we're able to get underneath because I'm not judging you. You're the only one judging you. And
hmm
what has happened over the years is you've gotten better at having the self-awareness that
hmm
you can put yourself back into alignment. And so from my perspective, self-awareness is
hmm
one of our greatest tools in life, because if we allow ourselves to know what we know and know that we don't know what we don't know
hmm
without any judgment attached to it, then we can learn it. So like this morning, for example, I was looking at places that I've been procrastinating, and it was like, oh, well, that's because I don't know how to do, I have this thing about technology, and like I don't know how to organize that, and I don't know. So I was like, okay, and if you did know.
Right.
So my new best friend is ChatGPT. So I went into ChatGPT and I said, I need to organize my business like the $1 million CEO that I am. Can you please help me give me the structure that I need?
hmm
And gave me a whole bunch of stuff. There was some stuff in there that I didn't understand. And I was like, can you clarify this? And I began to see how I can step into what I already know, because I've already taught ChatGPT about my program and who I am. So
hmm
it's reflecting back to me from who I am. So this is new, because I've never talked to you about AI before.
No, we
But
haven't.
I'm recognizing that even when we're stuck mentally, we can ask AI, what am I telling myself that's, crappy here? And it'll give you a list of things,
Right.
and you can listen. And to me, it's magical.
hmm
What's going on in the world? And frankly, I mean, 80 years on the planet, it's a different world, you know.
Right,
And
right.
and I was sitting there for 20 years going, yeah, but technology keeps passing me by. I yeah, and you know what? Fuck it. Excuse my language. To clean
I
that up.
love it. I love it. I love it. But Sharon, the other thing too that it's like we're talking like these are all these invisible principles out there, but this also I've had a number of coaching clients in the past that won't do the work. And I say, why won't you do the work? And then I get into their health and mindset, which I think are so important. And then I find out that, one person is going every day to McDonald's for lunch, drinking a bottle and a half of wine at night. And I'm like thinking to myself, okay, obviously this is not in alignment, but how can you do anything in your life, when you're feeding that kind of crap in your body? You won't have the motivation or the energy to do anything.
Well,
And so,
you're bringing up a really important point, Chris, because uh, people are beginning to become more aware of how important mindset is, but they're
mhm,
not as aware of how their nutrition and their habits for themselves, the way they treat themselves, how they're taking care of their body. They're not as aware that of the impact of that. Because like you
right.
said, when you don't have any energy, your brain is a fog, it's harder to do all of that stuff.
If not
And
impossible.
yeah, and for me, I mean, in my 30s, I hit 67 cities in less than 3 months, building a company from 3 million to 17 billion dollars on Wall Street. And
Wow.
I was like, I felt like, oh, aren't I awesome that I could do all this? And meanwhile, I came home and my body collapsed. I mean,
Mm,
literally, I couldn't step up off a curb without holding onto a pole. I had
wow.
an autoimmune disease that I'm not moving. And it was like my body saying, if you're not going to stop moving, I'm not moving anymore. And, and I didn't know any of these spiritual principles that I know now, but at least it was like it didn't take a spiritual genius to figure out my body is saying stop moving. It won't
Hmm.
move anymore, you know.
Right, right, right.
So from that place, what I've recognized is we need, if we can hear ourselves, and I'm really relatively dense. A lot of people are very sensitive in there. My sister Vicky is very sensitive in her body. She feels things she doesn't have words for. I'm not, I haven't been like that. I haven't trusted my feelings, but
Hmm.
feeling emotionally the vision you have for yourself is key to making that vision happen. And if you
Absolutely.
block your feelings with crappy food and drink and junk, you can't, you don't have all the sensitivities that are available to you to create anything you want.
And you're
So
not leading a conscious life
you're not,
because you're deadening your emotions and everything with what you're
right.
eating. Yeah.
Exactly. And and sometimes people, like I know sometimes in the evening when I'm, want to chill, it's like most people will have a glass of wine or two, or smoke a half a J or whatever to calm
Hmm.
themselves down. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But if you start at 3 in the afternoon, you're not gonna get anything done. If you start at 9 o'clock at night, on your last, giving yourself a break, that's a different
Hmm.
thing. But
Uh,
but if on a habitual basis, and you're thinking about your next fix, the next thing
hmm.
you're addicted to, next time you're gonna get to go to bed with somebody or whatever, you're not you're not in alignment with the vision that
Right,
you want to create.
right, right.
And and the reality is a lot of people don't have any vision. They don't, all they want is to
Yeah.
get from A to Z. But your people and my people want more. I have a
Right.
client who's in her 70s now who came to me a couple of years ago because she was in a very untenable situation with her husband who was very ill, and it wasn't like she'd been married for 50 years or something. And it was like how to navigate this. And I helped her through gracefully in such a way that she was like standing up and loving herself more and thinking about how to enjoy her life more. And then because she got lined up in that way, she started expanding her vision. And
Hmm.
she took what she was already doing, which made her a few bucks, and we expanded it to get her to $250,000. And then we expanded it more to get her to $1 million. I mean, and she's on fire right now. She's speaking on stages and she's loving life. And that's the goal. It's not
Hmm.
the money. The money
Correct.
is a way of keeping score that you're doing what you said you would do. That's really
Hmm.
what it is. It's a
Right.
scorekeeper. But if we can love our lives, then we're a win, and that's why if
Hmm.
we start from love and gratitude, we're already winners. And then
Right.
everything else is the icing on the cake.
I think that you've answered the question already in a broad perspective, but one of the things that I was thinking is somebody comes to you, Sharon, and said, "Okay, I'm not making this happen. I'm not achieving what I want." Uh, and you say, or they say they're out of alignment. What are the steps? What are the things they have to do to bring themselves into alignment? I think our listeners would like to know that.
All right. Well, one thing that I know is that we probably have a judgment machine going on. And
Interesting.
we also may have um, some fundamental things that we've repetitively done that have made us, have given us more limiting beliefs. So I know, for example, working with older women entrepreneurs who've had a business that has kind of gotten stuck, that they're in this turmoil of, ugh, do I really want to even continue with this? But yes, I do. I want it to happen. And they're going through that struggle internally
Hmm. Hmm.
before they come to me. And if not, they're going to either quit the business, go into, a limited retirement, or they're going to rally and say, okay, what do I need to do to change this situation? So when they're in that place, and frankly, in my program, they've put down a significant amount, a quarter of the cost of my program, and they're not going to have to pay me anymore until I get them at least 50,000. So it's not out of pocket. And they're
Hmm.
and they're in they're motivated to make that happen. So then what happens is I'll say, okay, they'll tell me, oh, I never follow through. I never do this or I never do that. And they give me all the things that they don't do that they're
Hmm.
beating themselves up with. So I will turn that around and say, really? I'll bet you could give me 500 things that you've done successfully. And you could probably do it in the last year. But go ahead, take your whole lifetime. Make me a list of 500 things you've done successfully. And you
Hmm.
know what? Some of those people, they come up with 10,
Hmm.
maybe 20.
Hmm.
But if you stay with the process to get to 500, you begin to realize how you're successful. You brushed your teeth this morning. You combed your hair. You washed the dishes that you use because otherwise you'd run out of dishes. Little by little, they begin to see how they're wherever you are in life, you got there successfully, even if it wasn't the way you wanted. So
Hmm.
once we get that, then we look through it and we make sure we see what are the things that they enjoy doing versus the things that they just did. Like, yeah, I did Bryce Waterhouse, but I hated it. And it's like,
Hmm.
okay, but what did you like about it? And what did you hate about it? So that we don't put those hate things into your new business, and yet we can incorporate the best of it. So for you, the best of it was being in service, making a
Hmm.
difference.
Hmm.
And the worst of it was you probably worked a million hours. You probably didn't get the same kind of thanks that you get. You probably
Hmm.
don't see the results that get you the satisfaction. Whereas then in real estate, it's a whole different thing, right?
Hmm.
And I'm
Right.
making this up, but I'm
Right.
imagining that that's
Yes.
what goes on. So if I can help somebody, like you identified it and figured it out yourself, you went and you found the right new career. But some
Hmm.
people don't, or they may be, I know that I used to like this. Why am I not liking it anymore? And
Right. Right.
sometimes they need to change, but sometimes it's just a tweak of how they're treating themselves. So the first thing is I make a list of all the things you've done successfully. Then we play with that list. We massage it a little and see how much of that, if there's anything on that list that's in alignment with their current vision. So
Hmm.
So part of what we're looking for is where are the places we've gotten out of alignment. So, okay, I got this vision, and then I get to look at, is that vision still true for me? 20 years ago, I said I wanted to start the Institute for the Study of Neuroplasticity,
Mm,
and I wanted X number of dollars to do that, like you had X number of dollars to move to Panama. And I realized when I stopped and I looked at it, it's like, it's not that I really want to create that institute. What I want is a seat at the table with Dr. Joe Dispenza and all the neuroscientists that are out there, and bring them together in one place that I get to be a part of it. And
hmm
if I need to create an institute to do that, I will. But they probably have them already in place that I can plug into when I can be of better service to that
hmm
community. So is
Right.
how can I serve the people that I love the best? That's the
hmm
bottom line. How
Right.
can I be in more service? And when that becomes a juicy question, instead of what's wrong with me, I can't do this, I'm too da, 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 that just shuts us down. What we want is questions that open us up. And what we're also wanting is, it's like there are beliefs in place that we don't even know we have. There are stories that we're running that we don't even know we have. So for me, when I was younger, money wasn't an issue. I wasn't wanting to make millions of dollars. I just had fun because that's how I kept score on Wall Street. They paid me really well. I doubled my income every year for like umpteen years, and I thought, this is cool, but it wasn't the money. So
hmm
guess what? And I didn't care about the money. I didn't value the money. I thought that these men around me talking about their Rolexes and their Rolls Royce cars and how many they had in the driveway. I thought that they were joke. It never occurred to me that people valued those things. So guess what? I don't have them, and they do. But
Right.
and part of it is to notice, what do you value, and why do you value it? Why?
hmm
What matters to you? So it's like
hmm
somebody said to me yesterday, I'm building a directory, of alternative health providers in Las Vegas. It's one of
hmm
my little side projects. I'm building this directory of alternative practitioners. And the person who's helping me build it, because I'm not taking the time to do it, we got Las Vegas Health Directory online.
hmm hmm
And she thought, oh, this is so cool. So she put in MDs, and from MDs to Reiki. And it was like, no, 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 no. I want to get away from traditional medicine. I don't want a directory that includes doctors. And I
hmm
had to go back to her and say, no, that's not what I wanted. I want this directory with these categories, and this is what I'm creating. And
hmm
and to stand up to the expert and say, no, that's not what I'm looking for, so that I can be in alignment with that. And doing
hmm
this directory for me is just kind of a fun residual income project, but I also am always looking for alternative weird things. Like I do this red light therapy, and I do sonic wave therapy, and I do scalar light therapy. But but I can't find it online. I don't know who the people are. So I'm creating the directory. And that's what we
hmm
do. We create the thing that we want, and that other people are looking for, that they don't have. So
Right.
that's the same in real estate. That's the same
hmm
in any business that we create. I mean, I remember when Pet Rocks came out. Are you young
Yeah,
enough
I
to?
remember. I remember.
There's a million ways to make $1 million. People make
hmm
it's not as hard as we think it is. Just think of
hmm
a funny idea. Do you know? there's there's a book out there that sold over 1 million copies, I think,
hmm
called What Men Women Know About Women. Have you ever heard of that book?
No, I haven't heard about that.
What Men Know About Women. And it was sold in hair salons and places where women hang out and stuff. And you open this book, it's 180 pages. What Men Know About Women. What do you think the main message is?
I was going to say you open the book and it's a blank page. It's all
It is
blank.
180 blank pages, and this
Uh,
book sold millions.
Oh my God. That is crazy. That's crazy. Oh my God. No, I agree with you. There are so many different ways. Getting back to what you were saying earlier, I think the one thing that's really important, and that is the self-awareness of wanting to change. Before somebody even comes to you, obviously you said earlier that they have to want to change. They have to know that there's a problem. How do you get people to see that problem?
You know, I think what happens is who I'm being, what my vibration is going to draw into my universe people that, whoa, I want to be more, I want
Well,
to have more of that. And
hmm
and people who don't have a clue are repelled by me. They really are.
hmm
You know, there are people who, oh, I wish she'd stop talking all that positivity shit. You know, life is hard. She's missing the point. You know, and
Uh-huh.
and those
But those are
people
defense mechanisms from people that I think personally that are fearful of change.
exactly. And you know what? What I've discovered, especially in this recent journey that I've been making with creating my six-figure elevated entrepreneur program,
Hmm
is that, well, if I haven't been able to do it before, why do I think I can do it now? That's the biggest underlying thing that stops people. And
hmm
for me to get to say, I don't have to know the whole, I don't have to know what it's going to take. I just have to know my next step
Yep.
and take that step. And what people, because they're uncomfortable with uncertainty, they think they
Yes.
have to have every single
Yes.
step in advance, and they don't.
Yep. And that's
And
what stops them from taking action.
that's right. And so when
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck at all, I'll stop and I'll go, what am I making up here? Because
hmm
I hate to say this, but we have a choice about every single thing in our lives. And it's like, well, I don't have a choice. I got cancer. That's not my fault. You know, and well, how you got there, I'm not going to, but how you respond to it, you have 100% response to it. And I've seen you go through some major health challenges for your partner and for you in life.
hmm
And your attitude was part of what lifted you out of
hmm
the what could have been a disaster.
Yep.
And what happens is we get to stop and slow down and sense into our body what's next.
hmm
What matters and what gives me joy. And sometimes when we're totally, I cannot see a solution, time to go for a walk, time
Yes.
to go be with your partner, time to,
hmm
because when you take those breaks, it's not total procrastination. If you take them consciously, asking the question before you do,
Right. Right.
what do I need to do for my next step? Then you'll be riding a roller coaster with your friend and suddenly get this flash of insight.
Right.
And and
hmm
and one of the things though that I love about you, Chris, is that you figured out some things along the way that worked. I know that you figured out a bunch of things that didn't work,
hmm
but you figured out some that do work and you incorporated them into your dailiness so that they became non-negotiable. It's what it is.
hmm Right.
And
Right.
out of that, you built a very successful real estate practice. And
hmm
out of those knowns that you have that you get to offer people, what happens is when people come into your collective or they come into your private coaching program,
hmm
they get to slow down and go, wait a second, all I need to do is this one thing every single
Right. Right.
consistently. There's a book called The Consistency Chain that's
hmm
worth reading for people. and basically do one thing over and over and over again.
Yep.
And then you do another. And there's another book called Atomic Habits.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
and essentially being the person. And a lot of times people say, you have to become the millionaire that, you can't have to
Hmm.
become it before you get there. Well, part of the becoming is noticing, is this behavior taking me towards my goal or not?
Right.
You know, and including in your behaviors
Hmm.
things that revive you, that rejuvenate you, things that uplift you. If you
Yes.
work so hard that you ignore your partner and your partner is on the side complaining and being miserable and it's a pull on your energy to do that.
Hmm.
So it behooves you to build that because that brings down your energy. You feel crummy.
Hmm.
So come back into alignment and you're able to say to your partner, I need this hour, but I'm going to give you that hour. And
Right.
you renegotiate it in such a way that then you're on fire. Oh boy, I'm going to get this done now. And
Right.
sometimes it doesn't work. Yesterday I had a day like that. I was
Hmm.
intending to take Vicky home. Vicky has a certain amount of dementia and she needs a certain amount of care,
Hmm.
and her husband wanted her home, and so we were going to, well, then he's sick and he wanted me to take care of her longer, but I had already mentally prepared to not be with myself, be with her. I had the
Hmm.
hardest time getting myself back on track. And
Mm.
you know and I, after 3 hours of doing about 15 minutes of work that I in those 3 hours, I finally
Uh-huh.
gave up. I said, surrender, go be with Vicky. This is not working.
I love it. I love it. Well, you said a bunch of stuff there that I think is really important for me to repeat, and that is the consistency thing is so important. The money is in the consistency. There's no question about it. And I say that all the time because most people are not consistent in nature, and that's one of the reasons they're struggling. The other thing that you said too that I think is also very important, and that is you don't need to know how all the time. If you have that strong vision and the strong belief, you just have to trust yourself that you can do it and the answer will come to you and just take one step at a time. And that's the basis for my coaching program, the Listing Collective, which is micro momentum marketing strategy. And it's basically taking baby steps towards your goal. And I think that is so important. But one of the things I don't know if I've told you this, and I've been doing this a lot this year, and that is there's a great book out there. You've heard me talk about Dr. Benjamin Hardy's book, 10X is easier than 2X. And that
Yes,
is, if you want to 2X your business, just keep doing the same stuff that you're doing and work harder. But if you want to 10X, you want to go from $100,000 to $1 million a year, you really have to do things differently. And you have to raise your floor, or as you would say, raise your vibration. Stop doing things that aren't really good for you, things that are not in alignment, things, and you don't always need to know why or the how you're going to get to $1 million because it will be unveiled for you, if you will. But one of the things that I wanted to say to you that I don't know if I've ever said this to you, and that is um, frequently when I'm going through my day, I certainly do this, and Dr. Joe's meditations, and when I meditate every morning, and my non-negotiable is working out and meditating every single morning, is I frequently go throughout my day talking to my future self and talking to I've got this future self that is sitting in one particular building in a high rise in downtown Panama City, Panama. And I quantum jump to him every single day. And
I
I'm
love it.
talking to him, and I sort of use him as a filter. If I'm doing certain things, if I, with this future self, is the future Chris doing webinars or not doing webinars? Is he upping his Facebook budget or is he not? Should he have that hamburger at lunch or not? You know. And so I think it's really interesting is that if you have that future self in your life, that you can bounce ideas off them.
It's it's
Does that make
it's
me
so
crazy?
important. I love that. And as a matter of fact, I kind of know about conversation with the future self, and I don't do what you the way you do, but the way you
Hmm.
just described it, I'm going to be able to go ahead and implement that for myself. And I really, what I often do is I have a journal writing process that I do that helps
Oh,
people
that's
get
interesting. That's
into
interesting.
their unconscious, so that so the like I once did a dialogue with my body like 40 years ago, and it said, you know, and I was like leaning into the possibility of not smoking pot anymore, not doing any drugs at all. And the body just said to me, well, you realize you're just reliving your mother's life and death. And I said, no, I'm not.
Mm.
She took uppers and downers and all these meds, and I don't do any of that stuff. And the body
Mm.
said, well, do you feel more alive and present when you're stoned or not?
Hmm.
And it's like, well, no. It's like, well, it's a simple question. Do you choose life or death? And
Mm.
I never did another drug for the next 40 years after
Wow.
after having this conversation, and I didn't even know that was all in me. But it's like, because my mother killed herself, it was like, no,
Mm.
I don't want to die. I don't want to
Hmm.
be dead inside. I want to be vibrant every day of my life.
That
You
is
know?
so powerful. So powerful.
So I do a
That.
journal, right? And lately I've been, for the last couple of years, having a daily dialogue with Jesus, who's like,
Mm.
who's the wisest person you know? Who's the most loving person you know? Who's the kindest person? Who's the richest person? I mean, choose somebody. And that's one of the
Hmm.
fun things about AI. I can say,
Hmm.
write this in the style of Christopher Stafford, or I
Hmm.
can say, write, I mean, I get AI as like, do you know such and such a book? And they'll, so can you incorporate that work into what I'm doing here? And I'm just learning. I'm just like teeny starting, but I'm realizing that again, that's one of those insights from beyond that.
Hmm.
Oh, what if I ask so and so? And so
Hmm.
that's what we're doing. And I just love the whole process of creation. And I used to say I didn't have a creative bone in my body. Ha! I love
Hmm.
creating things. And
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm not a painter, but I'm an artist in my own
Hmm.
way. But I
Hmm.
haven't given myself, it was like that was dangerous to me because that was the way my mother was. So it's like
Hmm.
I don't have to be attached to any of those old stories anymore. They don't have to run me anymore. I'm not responsible for keeping people alive. That was something I made up as a child.
Hmm.
But but I can make a much bigger difference if I stand in my strength and my power and
Hmm.
and if I stand in my humbly knowing that I'm not in charge of this. I do not know what's right for everybody else. I
Hmm.
don't I don't have any answers. All I have is curiosity and
Hmm.
the capacity to ask questions and to go, well, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. Well, where does that come from? What's the story that you're telling yourself?
Hmm.
Oh, is that really true? Do you
Hmm.
really are you willing to let go of that story? Yeah. And when the person's genuinely ready to give up the story, they will. But if
Yes.
they're not, if they're more addicted to the story, and you get a dopamine hit from it. I mean, it's like,
Yes.
like I've been taking care of my sisters a lot, and everybody says, "Oh, you're such a wonderful sister." So I get a dopamine hit from, "Oh, you're such a wonderful sister." It's like, no, 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 no. I'm willing to be a crummy sister if I can take better care of myself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying, why are you spending so much time with your sisters?
You know?
Oh my God. Sharon, this is just an amazing conversation. And before we wrap it up, I think it's my turn to put you on the spot. And
Okay.
so my question for you is, what is your vision and where do you see yourself in a year from now, 3 years from now?
Okay. So that has changed over the years because I
I
am
know it
almost
has.
80 years old.
Hmm.
And my sisters are very important to me. There's three of us left out of six, and the other two are 84, and they'll be 84 and 85 when I turn 80. And I would love to be able to help them to just have a, 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 an, a smattering of experience of everything working smoothly, that money is never the issue, because money,
Hmm.
don't let money be the issue. So that's one piece of it. But where I see myself getting to is that in a year I'm earning $1 million. I have 100 clients in my program. I have my mailing list grows by 1,000 people, every few months,
Uh-huh.
every year, and
Hmm.
my time is being spent coaching and loving on people more than it is, and I have enough money that I can hire people to do anything that is like that I don't want to learn how to do myself.
Right.
Want to learn AI now, so I'm doing that. But I'll come a time when I'll turn that over to somebody else to do. There are certain things that I'm doing for myself now because I want to learn how, so that I can give better instructions when I hire it out. So
Right.
my vision is to get to, having that be consistent. And I realize, and have been on 100 stages in front of thousands of my right fit audience. Now, what's going to happen here is, like, I'm in the transition here, because in the past I was always told to do, social media, and you get your leads from that and have these chit chat conversations. To me, it's deadly. It does not raise my vibration to do that. On the other hand, I have to have a social media presence. So
Right.
I need
Right.
to come back into doing that stuff. But really, what I need to want to do is get more on stages. And because I've been like, no, I don't want to do social media, the minute you block anything from me, you're blocking the flow. So it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
I'll do social media. And I'm going to get in front of thousands of women to find the
Hmm.
ones that are going to find me. I am not chasing clients anymore. If you don't want me, I don't want to work with you.
I love it. I love it. And you are so charismatic and you are so knowledgeable and so personable that any older woman would be a fool not to work with you, as long as they're aware that they want to improve.
And that's a thank you. And that's really key, that we want to take what we have and either grow it or change it or expand it, but become more of who we want to be and become our best self. And if I look through the theme of my whole life, I've always been kind of a pioneer. It's like I've always taken a seed of something and led the way in making it happen. So in New York City schools, I created the first open classroom programs, cross-graded, and working with children at their level in a way that nobody in New York public schools was doing. And
Wow.
and I created the first classes for severely emotionally disturbed kids. That was a natural outgrowth. And then I realized at the time I wanted to eliminate racism from the New York City school system. I'm 21
Just
years old and not too powerful. Anyway, I was dying in this process. So when I went
Mm,
to Wall Street, I took a summer job typing to learn about corporate America in a way that was foreign to me. So it was like, okay, I got to learn about these people, because right
mhm,
now I hate everybody, and that's not going to
mhm,
work.
mhm,
So it was like, even there, I was a typist, but most typists just type candidate. I looked at it, it's like, this sentence would make more sense if you move this word around, or if you put up, wouldn't you want this to look better? And the guys are looking at me like, who is this person who can write better than I can? And that's how I went from being a typist to a senior vice president and growing a company to $17 billion.
That's
But
amazing.
but the other thing I did was I learned. It was like I had the belief that I could learn something if I took the time to do it. And
Hmm.
So it's like, first time I read a prospectus, I didn't know what assessed value was. I didn't know the difference. I mean, I didn't know anything, and I'm a municipal bond analyst, right? So I read a paragraph and I say, gee, if I knew what this word meant, I'd know what this sentence meant. If I knew what this sentence meant, I'd know what this paragraph meant. So I went through and systematically wrote down all the things that seemed key. And then I'd go into this obnoxious boss I had who would pat me on the head and say, "You're worth 10,000 more than we're paying you." But I would say, "What's assessed value? What's all the things that I can now ask ChatGPT without judgment?"
Right, right, right. I love it.
But that ability, that willingness to be in the unknown, that's the difference between people who get there faster or slower. You have to be willing to be in the
I
unknown and like,
love
oops,
that.
I messed up. Oops, that didn't work.
Right,
Oops.
right,
As opposed to doing something for 6 months and that does work, but it's not working yet for you. And instead of abandoning it and go finding something else, which is what most of us do, we look for shiny objects
right,
to replace it. If we know that this works, then what can we do to apply it to ourselves better, to make
right.
ourselves fit into that mold? So it's really exciting to me to realize that this applies to everything in my life, you know.
Hmm.
And
Right,
and right now with my business, it's so exciting to be in this unknown space. I have never
right.
created a high ticket program like this before. I've
Hmm.
never been on stages before. I have, and I know this model works because I've seen it work with other people and it's working for me and my clients that are working with me love it. And
Hmm.
it's just a matter of not feeling responsible for the whole world, but
Hmm.
only for the actions you're taking. So if I walk my talk,
Hmm.
then I get to be a model. But if I tell you to do something and I'm not doing it myself,
Exactly.
that then, and again, everything is energy. Even if
Hmm.
it's not expressed in words, it's there. Everything.
Hmm.
And what is it about, like the all the ships rise when the water rises.
Right, 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 right.
So
Absolutely. But I hear in your message that what is it that Martin Luther King said is you don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. And I hope that everybody, I think that's just an amazing message for us today. I think we should leave it right there, and we may have to do a part two, Sharon.
you and I can always talk. I mean, yesterday we were talking about what are we going to talk about, and half of what we said was like, "Oh, I wish we'd recorded that."
Exactly. Thanks so much, Sharon. This is
Thank
amazing.
you.
All
Awesome.
right.
I
All
look
right.
forward to seeing the recording.
All right.